If these words reached you, something in your field has already begun responding. This did not arrive in front of you as random content, random sound, random language, random timing, or another passing message in the endless noise of the world. Something deeper moved before your mind had time to explain it. Something ancient inside you recognized a frequency before your thoughts could decide whether to believe it. You were not searching because you were empty. You were searching because a hidden part of you had started transmitting. You were not lost. You were being pulled toward the moment where the real you would finally become impossible to ignore. And if you can feel even the smallest pressure in your chest right now, even the faintest sense that these words are touching a place you do not usually let people reach, then understand this clearly. Your system already knows. Your energy field already knows. Your electromagnetic signature has already begun to change. The old broadcast is weakening. The old identity is losing its grip. The version of you that kept apologizing for its own light, shrinking to survive, pretending not to know what it knew, waiting for permission to become powerful, has already started dissolving. Not because you forced it, not because you finally became perfect, not because you solved every problem in your life, but because your field reached a threshold where the false self could no longer carry the signal of your future. There is a reason you have felt strange lately. There is a reason familiar things have started feeling distant. There is a reason certain people, habits, rooms, conversations, goals, fears, and old emotional patterns no longer fit the way they used to. Something has been reorganizing beneath the surface. Your life may still look the same in certain places, but internally, the architecture has changed. The energy that once fed the old identity is being withdrawn. The field intelligence around you is no longer supporting the version of you that was built from fear, survival, disappointment, rejection, overthinking, and emotional defense. Your nervous system has been trying to regulate into a new coherence. Your heart has been trying to broadcast a cleaner signal. Your consciousness field has been trying to pull you out of the static that made you believe you were behind, broken, confused, delayed, forgotten, or lost. But you were never lost. You were incubating. You were hidden inside a life that looked ordinary, while something extraordinary was gathering power beneath your awareness. Your light has always been on. It was only buried under frequencies that were never yours. There are moments in a human life when the field stops whispering and starts rearranging. It removes what cannot follow. It shakes what has become too small. It exposes what was built on fear. It brings discomfort, not to punish you, but to loosen the grip of the identity you mistook for yourself. That is why the last season may have felt confusing. You may have questioned your direction, your worth, your relationships, your purpose, your timing, and even your own inner knowing. You may have looked at your life and wondered why so much felt unfinished, why certain doors closed, why certain people changed, why the same patterns kept repeating, why your soul felt tired even when nothing dramatic was happening on the outside. But the field already knows what your mind is only beginning to understand. Your confusion was not the absence of guidance. It was the sound of an old frequency collapsing. The uncertainty was not proof that you had failed. It was the space between one identity dissolving and another identity becoming stable enough to hold. The real you has been waiting beneath the noise, not somewhere far away, not in another lifetime, not after you become more successful, more spiritual, more disciplined, more healed, more attractive, more validated, or more acceptable to the world. The real you has been waiting inside your own chest, behind every moment where you betrayed yourself to be chosen, behind every moment where you silenced your intuition to keep peace, behind every moment where you accepted less because your nervous system confused familiar pain with safety. And now that real self is rising. It may not rise loudly at first. It may rise as a discomfort with pretending. It may rise as a sudden refusal to explain yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. It may rise as exhaustion around old conversations. It may rise as a deep ache for a life that feels more honest. It may rise as a strange calm in the middle of uncertainty, as if something inside you knows the outer world is not the final authority anymore. This is activation, not performance, not fantasy, not pretending to be enlightened. Activation is the moment your inner signal becomes stronger than the programming that once controlled your life. The hidden broadcast. You have been broadcasting your entire life, even when you did not know it. Every fear you carried, every belief you repeated, every wound you protected, every desire you buried, every expectation you held about who you were allowed to become, became part of the energetic reality around you. Reality responds to what you radiate, not what you pretend. This is not a punishment, it is not blame, it is not some shallow idea that you caused every painful thing that happened to you. That is not the transmission. The truth is more precise and more powerful than that. Your field is always communicating. Your body communicates through tension and openness. Your heart communicates through coherence and fragmentation. Your nervous system communicates through safety or threat. Your presence communicates before your words arrive. People feel your signal before they understand your story. Opportunities meet the version of you that is broadcasting, not the version you secretly hope to become someday. And for a long time, your signal may have been distorted by survival. You may have wanted love while broadcasting guardedness. You may have wanted abundance while broadcasting fear of loss. You may have wanted peace while your system remained addicted to urgency. You may have wanted visibility while hiding from judgment. You may have wanted a new chapter while emotionally returning to the old one every time it called your name. But now the broadcast is changing. You can feel it because the same things no longer trigger you in the same way. Or if they do trigger you, they do not own you for as long. You can feel it because the old craving for approval is losing its intensity. You can feel it because something in you is no longer willing to chase what repeatedly drains your spirit. You can feel it because your inner world has started asking better questions. Not, why was I rejected? But, why was I trying to be accepted by a frequency that could not recognize me? Not, why did that door close? But, what part of me was still trying to enter rooms beneath my true assignment? Not, why am I not there yet? But, what version of me must become coherent enough to occupy the reality I keep asking for? These questions are not casual thoughts. They are signals. They are evidence that the consciousness field inside you is becoming more organized. Your coherence is returning. There is a hidden intelligence in your life that does not speak in the language of panic. It speaks through resonance. It speaks through timing. It speaks through repeated feelings you try to ignore but cannot. It speaks through the heaviness you feel around people who once impressed you. It speaks through the peace you feel around certain possibilities, even when they do not make logical sense yet. It speaks through the ache in your chest when you imagine continuing the same life for another 5 years. It speaks through the sudden clarity that arrives after a long period of emotional fog. This intelligence has been guiding you toward the real you for years, but the old identity kept needing proof. It kept asking, how do I know this is real? While the body already knew. It kept demanding certainty from the outside while the heart was already broadcasting truth from the inside. The quantum field is listening, but it listens differently than the mind expects. It does not only listen to words, it listens to alignment. It listens to the total broadcast of your being. It listens to what you repeatedly choose when no one is watching. It listens to whether you keep negotiating with the old frequency or finally become unavailable to it. You were never lost. You were surrounded by noise so long that you mistook silence for absence. You were conditioned to believe that guidance should look dramatic, obvious, loud, immediate, and convenient. But much of your guidance came as discomfort. Much of your guidance came as endings. Much of your guidance came through the relationships that could not hold your expansion. Much of your guidance came through the strange inner knowing that you were meant for something more, even when your physical life had not yet caught up to that truth. You called it restlessness. You called it dissatisfaction. You called it overthinking. But part of it was the real you pressing against the walls of a life built for a smaller identity. Part of it was destiny becoming uncomfortable inside limitation. Part of it was the field refusing to let you fall asleep inside someone else's version of safety. And now you are entering a phase where the signal becomes clear. Not easy, clear. There is a difference. Easy means the old self gets comfort without transformation. Clear means the real self gets direction, even when the path requires courage. Clear means you stop interpreting every challenge as evidence that you are blocked. Clear means you begin to understand that some resistance is not a wall, it is a threshold. Clear means you stop begging reality for signs while ignoring the biggest sign of all, which is the fact that your old life no longer feels like home. The new chapter has already begun, but it begins first as a change in your internal frequency. It begins as a quiet refusal. It begins as a deeper breath. It begins as a boundary you once feared setting. It begins as a desire you stop dismissing. It begins as a small pulse in your chest that says, "This is not all I came here to be." The self that never disappeared. The real you did not disappear when life disappointed you. It did not disappear when people misunderstood you. It did not disappear when you made mistakes, lost time, trusted the wrong voices, stayed too long, gave too much, hid too well, or forgot your own power. The real you remained beneath everything. It waited beneath the personality you created to survive. It waited beneath the smile you used to avoid questions. It waited beneath the silence you kept, because explaining your pain felt exhausting. It waited beneath the ambition you used to prove your worth. It waited beneath the spiritual language you used to avoid admitting you were still hurting. It waited beneath the numbness, beneath the fear, beneath the shame, beneath the strange feeling that you were watching your own life from a distance. Your light has always been on, even when you could not feel it. Even when your mind said nothing was happening. Even when your outer world looked delayed. The signal was still alive. Think about the moments that should have ended you but did not. Think about the nights when you had no clear answer, yet something kept you breathing. Think about the losses that stripped you down until you no longer recognized yourself, and yet some small, stubborn, sacred part of you refused to vanish. That was the real you, not the loud version, not the version trying to impress anyone, not the version trying to prove that the pain did not affect you. The real you was the quiet intelligence that stayed. The real you was the witness behind the storm. The real you was the part of your consciousness that kept holding a frequency beyond the evidence. You may not have called it power at the time. You may have called it survival. But survival was only the outer shell. Beneath it was a hidden coherence that life could bruise but not destroy. This is why you never fully belonged to the old world, even when you tried. You could participate in it. You could function inside it. You could laugh, work, perform, respond, explain, achieve, and appear normal. But somewhere inside you knew there was another layer to your existence. You knew you were not here simply to repeat patterns, collect approval, manage wounds, and call that life. You knew there was a deeper frequency beneath the surface, and because you knew, certain illusions could never fully satisfy you. This is the blessing and the burden of being internally called. You cannot remain comfortable in a false identity once your field has touched the signal of the real one. You can delay, you can distract yourself, you can go back to familiar patterns for a while. You can convince yourself that you are asking for too much, but the field already knows. It will keep bringing you back to the place inside you where the truth refuses to die. You may have thought your sensitivity was weakness. It was not. It was reception. You may have thought your intensity was a problem. It was not. It was voltage without direction. You may have thought your loneliness meant you were unchosen. It did not. It meant your frequency was not designed to anchor in every room. You may have thought the delays meant you were forgotten. They did not. They meant your energetic architecture was still being rebuilt so you would not collapse under the weight of what you were asking to receive. A higher life requires a different nervous system. A larger destiny requires more coherence. A brighter signal requires the courage to release everything that keeps dimming it. That is what has been happening. You were not being held back. You were being recalibrated. There is an old frequency leaving you now. It may leave through tears you cannot explain. It may leave through exhaustion that forces you to stop performing. It may leave through sudden honesty. It may leave through grief for the years you spent disconnected from your own power. It may leave through anger, not destructive anger, but clean anger, the kind that says, "I will not abandon myself again." Let it leave. Do not worship the old pain just because it is familiar. Do not confuse emotional withdrawal with failure. Do not rush to fill the empty space the old identity leaves behind. That space is sacred. That space is not emptiness. It is availability. It is where the new frequency begins to organize itself. It is where your future self starts becoming audible. The collapse before activation. Before a frequency upgrades, distortion becomes visible. That is why so much may have felt exposed lately. The relationships that were held together by your self-abandonment start shaking. The habits that helped you escape your own truth start feeling heavier. The dreams you adopted to please others begin losing their color. The excuses you used to tolerate misalignment stop sounding convincing. This is not your life falling apart in the way your fear imagines. This is the old structure losing permission to govern you. The collapse before activation is often misunderstood because the mind wants transformation to feel clean, beautiful, graceful, and instantly rewarding. But real transformation often begins with an unbearable honesty. It begins when you can no longer lie to yourself in the same way. It begins when the body refuses to stay numb. It begins when your heart stops cooperating with a life that keeps asking it to shrink. There is a reason you may have been pulled into solitude. Not because you are meant to be alone forever, but because the field needed to remove interference. When you are constantly surrounded by other people's expectations, wounds, opinions, fears, and projections, your own signal becomes difficult to hear. Solitude is not abandonment when it is part of activation. It is a chamber. It is where your system stops adjusting to every external frequency and begins remembering its own. At first, solitude can feel like punishment because the old identity was addicted to reflection from others. It needed messages, reactions, validation, noise, reassurance, and proof that it existed. But the real you does not need constant confirmation to be real. The real you becomes more powerful in silence because silence removes the static. Silence reveals the broadcast beneath the performance. This is why the field may have removed certain distractions. It may have made some connections fade. It may have allowed certain doors to close without explanation. It may have interrupted plans you thought were essential. It may have made you deeply uncomfortable in places you once tolerated. Not every loss is rejection. Some losses are extraction. Some endings are not punishments. They are energetic retrievals. The field pulls your energy back from timelines where it would be wasted. It retrieves your attention from people who only knew how to use your light, not honor it. It retrieves your desire from goals that were built on proving rather than becoming. It retrieves your nervous system from chaos disguised as chemistry. It retrieves your heart from waiting rooms where you kept hoping someone would finally see what they were committed to overlooking. A woman once reached a point where everything she had built around her false identity collapsed almost at once. Her relationship ended, her work became unstable, her friends became distant, and the routines she used to hold herself together stopped working. From the outside, it looked like failure. People told her to be practical. They told her to move on, stay busy, find someone else, rebuild quickly, stop being dramatic, stop overthinking, stop isolating. But inside her, something else was happening. For years, she had been living as the version of herself that could be accepted. She was kind because she feared rejection. She was productive because she feared worthlessness. She was loyal because she feared abandonment. She was calm because she feared being called too much. Her entire life had been an elegant survival strategy. Then one day, the strategy stopped functioning. She could no longer smile through disrespect. She could no longer pretend she wanted the life everyone praised her for maintaining. She could no longer force her body into places where her spirit felt absent. For months, she thought she was broken, but she was not broken. Her false coherence had shattered so true coherence could emerge. At first, she hated the silence. She had spent years being needed, and without people constantly requiring her energy, she did not know who she was. But slowly, in the quiet, she began to feel something in her chest. Not excitement, not happiness, something steadier, a pulse of recognition. She began walking alone in the morning, without trying to fix her life. She began breathing without checking her phone first. She began noticing how her body reacted around different people. She began saying no without explaining for an hour. She began feeling grief, not as a problem to solve, but as energy leaving her system. Then something strange happened. Opportunities that matched her real interests began appearing. People who did not need her to perform began entering. Her face changed, her voice changed, her choices changed. It was not overnight magic, it was coherence. Her field stopped broadcasting, "Please choose me," and began broadcasting, "I am already returning to myself." Reality responded, not because she chased it, but because the signal became clean. She had not lost her life. She had lost the architecture that kept her hidden from it. This is what may be happening to you. Maybe your collapse was quieter. Maybe it was internal. Maybe nobody noticed. Maybe you kept functioning while something inside you burned down. But the field noticed. The field always noticed coherence. It notices when you stop feeding the old pattern. It notices when you reclaim attention from the timeline that drained you. It notices when you choose peace over addiction, truth over approval, alignment over familiarity. The quantum field is listening, not to your performance, but to your frequency. And your frequency is changing. The science of your hidden light. There are people who need the language of science before they can trust what their body already knows. That is understandable. The modern mind has been trained to distrust invisible things, even though the most powerful forces in life are often invisible. Love is invisible until it changes behavior. Fear is invisible until it shapes a body. Belief is invisible until it becomes a choice. Intention is invisible until it reorganizes a life. Your electromagnetic field is invisible to the ordinary eye, yet your presence can change a room before you say a word. Your nervous system can transmit safety or danger. Your heart can become coherent or chaotic. Your breath can regulate your state. Your state can change your perception. Your perception can change your decisions. Your decisions can change the reality you keep meeting. This is not abstract. This is intimate. This is happening inside you every day. When the HeartMath Institute speaks about heart coherence, when people discuss the electromagnetic field of the heart, when the language of resonance and synchronization enters the conversation, do not hear it as cold information. Hear it as confirmation of something your soul has always sensed. Your heart is not merely a symbol, it is a powerful organizing center. When your heart is fragmented, your life often feels fragmented. When your system is constantly in threat, every possibility looks unsafe. When your breath is shallow, your future feels far away. When your body is braced, even blessings can feel suspicious. But when coherence begins returning, perception changes. The same world becomes more spacious. The same uncertainty becomes less terrifying. The same silence becomes more intelligent. The same heart that once broadcast fear begins broadcasting steadiness. The signal is becoming clear. You do not need to understand every mechanism to feel the shift. You know the difference between standing near someone who drains you and standing near someone who steadies you. You know the difference between entering a room where the air feels heavy and entering a room where your chest relaxes. You know the difference between making a decision from panic and making one from alignment. You know when your body says yes before your mind has evidence. You know when your field contracts around a situation that looks good on paper but feels wrong in your bones. This is resonance. This is field intelligence. This is energetic entrainment. Your system is always synchronizing with something. The question is whether you are synchronizing with fear or truth, chaos or coherence, old identity or future self. For too long, you may have let the outer world tune you, Someone's mood changed and your frequency dropped. Someone's silence appeared and your nervous system panicked. Someone judged you and your light dimmed. A plan failed and you decided the future was closed. A delay happened and your mind called it rejection. This is what happens when your internal field has not yet become the primary authority, but activation changes that. Activation does not mean nothing affects you. It means nothing gets to define your entire state without your consent. Activation means you notice the trigger and return to your center faster. Activation means you breathe before you collapse into the old story. Activation means you feel the emotion without letting it rewrite your destiny. Activation means your field stops taking orders from every passing disturbance. Your energetic architecture is being rebuilt around coherence. That means the body must learn safety in expansion. Many people say they want a larger life, but their nervous system only knows how to survive a small one. They say they want love, but intimacy activates old wounds. They say they want visibility, but attention feels dangerous. They say they want abundance, but receiving feels unfamiliar. They say they want peace, but calm feels boring because chaos was mistaken for aliveness. This is why your activation has required patience. The field is not only bringing you new possibilities, it is preparing you to hold them. A new life without a new state would only recreate the old pattern in a different costume, but a new state changes everything. The broadcast changes, the choices change, the people you tolerate change, the opportunities you recognize change, the way you walk into a room changes. The way reality meets you begins to change because you are no longer transmitting from the same wound. The field that remembers you. The field already knows the version of you that your current life has not fully met yet. This is why you sometimes feel homesick for a reality you have never physically lived. This is why certain ideas, places, callings, and possibilities create a strange ache inside you. They are not random fantasies. They are frequency memories. They are signals from a timeline where your energy is no longer divided against itself. You are becoming visible to your future. That future is not waiting somewhere outside you like a prize being withheld. It is responding to your coherence. It is watching for the moment when you stop leaking power into the old identity. It is watching for the moment when your yes becomes clean and your no becomes sacred. It is watching for the moment when you stop asking, "Am I allowed?" and start embodying, "I am ready to become responsible for my light." A man once lost nearly everything that gave him his identity. His business failed, his relationship ended, his reputation changed, and the people who once admired him disappeared when he no longer had anything to offer. He had spent years building an image of strength, control, intelligence, and success. He thought that image was who he was. When it collapsed, he felt erased. He woke up each morning with the strange terror of not knowing who he was without the roles that once made him feel valuable. For a while, he tried to force his way back into the old life. He chased the same kind of success, the same kind of people, the same kind of recognition, but every attempt felt heavy. It was as if the field would not let him re-enter the timeline that had already expired. Then one evening, exhausted from trying to become his old self again, he sat alone and stopped fighting. He did not meditate perfectly. He did not have a mystical vision. He simply stopped negotiating with the collapse. He put a hand on his chest and admitted the truth he had avoided for years. He had never wanted the life he was grieving. He had wanted the feeling of being seen. He had wanted proof that he mattered. He had wanted to outrun an old wound that told him he was nothing unless he achieved. In that moment, something softened. His breath deepened. His body, which had been braced for months, released slightly. That small release became the first honest signal he had transmitted in years. Not "look at me," not "approve of me," not "tell me I still matter." The signal was simpler and more powerful. "I am here." From that day, his life did not become instantly easy, but it became true. He stopped chasing rooms where he had to perform intelligence instead of embody wisdom. He stopped building things only to impress people who were not even aligned with his soul. He began working in a smaller, quieter way at first, creating from honesty rather than proving. At first, the world did not clap, but his field changed. People began trusting him differently. His voice carried a different weight. He was no longer broadcasting desperation under confidence. He was broadcasting presence. Eventually, the work that emerged from that period became more powerful than anything he had built before, not because it was bigger in the beginning, but because it was coherent. The man thought he had lost everything. In reality, he had lost the false signal that was blocking the real one. Do you understand what this means for you? The parts of your life that collapsed may not have been evidence that your destiny failed. They may have been evidence that your destiny refused to let you continue building from distortion. The field remembers you beneath the name, beneath the role, beneath the history, beneath the survival pattern. The field remembers the original signal. The field remembers the part of you that existed before disappointment taught you to shrink. The field remembers the part of you that knew how to trust inner guidance before the world trained you to doubt it. Your activation is not about becoming someone else. It is about removing everything that made you unrecognizable to yourself. The first activation: close your eyes not to escape the world, but to return to the field beneath it. Let your attention move away from the noise around you and begin to settle into the center of your chest. Do not force anything. Do not try to create an experience. Do not perform spirituality for yourself. Simply bring awareness to the space behind the heart, the place where you have carried grief, hope, fear, longing, love, disappointment, and the quiet knowing you could never fully explain. Breathe into that space slowly. Let the breath arrive like a signal returning home. Feel the front of your body soften. Feel the shoulders drop even slightly. Feel the jaw release its hidden argument with life. Feel the old need to understand everything begin to loosen. You do not need to solve your entire reality in this moment. You only need to return to the signal. Feel the field around your body, not as an idea, as a presence. Sense the space a few inches beyond your skin. Sense the invisible atmosphere you carry everywhere you go. This is not empty space. This is the edge of your broadcast. This is where your nervous system, your heart, your attention, your memory, your intention, and your consciousness begin speaking before words. For a long time, this field may have been filled with static from old pain. It may have carried the frequencies of rejection, urgency, mistrust, grief, shame, and exhaustion. Do not judge that. Those frequencies were not proof that you were weak. They were evidence that you survived environments that required protection. But now, with every breath, begin to feel the old static losing authority. Feel the old frequency leaving. Feel the body realizing it does not have to defend the identity that kept it trapped. Bring awareness deeper into the chest and imagine that your heart is not trying to shine louder, but clearer. Your light has always been on. It does not need to scream. It does not need to convince. It does not need to compete with anyone else's brightness. It only needs coherence. Let the breath gather the scattered parts of you, the part that stayed in the past, the part that feared the future, the part that kept checking for danger, the part that wanted to be chosen, the part that felt abandoned, the part that kept trying to earn love by becoming useful. Let them return, not as enemies, but as energy. Call your power back from every room where you left it. Call your power back from every conversation you keep replaying. Call your power back from every person whose opinion became louder than your inner knowing. Call your power back from every timeline where you waited to be valued by those who could only recognize you when you were shrinking. Feel your signal expanding, not outward as ego, but outward as truth. Feel the space around you becoming more coherent. Feel your breath synchronizing with the deeper intelligence of the body. Feel your heart broadcasting a steadier frequency. Feel the old identity dissolving at the edges. It does not need to be attacked. It only needs to be released. It was built to protect you, but it cannot lead you into the new chapter. Thank it without obeying it. Honor what it helped you survive without letting it decide what you are allowed to become. The real you is emerging now, not dramatically, but undeniably. The signal is becoming clear. The broadcast is changing. The field already knows. The relationships that could not follow your frequency. One of the most painful signs of activation is the way certain relationships begin to change. At first you may blame yourself. You may wonder why you no longer feel the same ease around people you once loved, trusted, needed, admired, or depended on. You may wonder why conversations feel heavier, why your body contracts, why your old role feels impossible to keep playing. But when your frequency shifts, every connection must reveal what it was actually built on. Some relationships were built on love. Those may stretch, adjust, deepen, and become more honest. But some relationships were built on your unconscious agreement to remain small. Those will struggle. Some people were comfortable with your wounded self because that version of you was easier to predict, easier to control, easier to access, easier to guilt, easier to impress, easier to keep in old dynamics. When your coherence returns, they may not celebrate it. They may call you distant, selfish, cold, strange, arrogant, difficult, too sensitive, too serious, or changed. And they will be right about one thing: you have changed. The part they are grieving may be the version of you that kept abandoning itself to maintain connection. Do not mistake their discomfort for evidence that your activation is wrong. When your broadcast changes, the old receivers react. People who benefited from your confusion may resist your clarity. People who relied on your lack of boundaries may resent your peace. People who only knew how to connect through chaos may find your regulation threatening. People who were attached to your old frequency may try to pull you back into it through guilt, nostalgia, criticism, silence, or emotional emergencies. This is where you must become deeply honest. Compassion does not mean returning to a frequency that was destroying you. Love does not mean making your nervous system a home for someone else's disorder. Loyalty does not mean betraying the real you so the old dynamic can survive. Someone once went through an activation that began with the ending of friendships they thought would last forever. For years, this person had been the listener, the fixer, the one who answered every call, absorbed every crisis, softened every conflict, and never asked for much. They believed this was love, but it was actually an identity built around being emotionally useful. When their own life began changing, when they started needing space, when they stopped responding instantly, when they began speaking honestly, the relationships shifted. Some friends became irritated, some disappeared, some accused them of thinking they were better. At first, the grief was brutal. They wondered if becoming more aligned meant becoming alone. They almost returned to the old role just to stop the ache. But in the silence that followed, they began to realize something devastating and liberating. Many of those connections had not known their real self. They had known their availability. They had known their emotional labor. They had known the version of them that did not inconvenience anyone with needs, boundaries, or truth. This realization hurt, but it also freed them. Their field stopped broadcasting, "I will disappear so you can be comfortable," and started broadcasting, "I am here too." Slowly, new connections arrived. Not many at first, but different, cleaner, less demanding, more resonant. People who did not panic when they said no. People who did not need them, wounded to feel close. People who could sit with their growth without trying to shrink it. This is what happens when you stop forcing old frequency relationships to validate your new frequency life. The field begins sorting. The signal begins attracting differently. You are allowed to outgrow the version of connection that required self-erasure. You are allowed to love people and still no longer match their field. You are allowed to wish them well and stop giving them access to the deepest parts of you. You are allowed to stop explaining your transformation to those committed to interpreting it as betrayal. The new chapter has already begun, and not everyone can enter it with you. This is not because you are superior. This is because frequency determines access. The version of you that is emerging cannot keep living in rooms where it has to dim itself to be accepted. Your light has always been on. Now it is becoming visible. The energetic architecture of your new life. Your new life is not built first through external action. It is built through energetic architecture. This means your inner structure must change before the outer structure can stabilize. Your attention must change. Your standards must change. Your emotional reflexes must change. Your relationship with waiting must change. Your relationship with receiving must change. Your relationship with your own power must change. Otherwise, you will drag the old frequency into a new environment and call it transformation while recreating the same pattern. The field is too intelligent to let that be your final chapter. It wants coherence, not decoration. It wants embodiment, not fantasy. It wants you to become the person who can actually hold the life your soul keeps recognizing. This is why small choices matter more than the old mind understands. Every time you refuse to spiral into a familiar fear, the architecture changes. Every time you pause before reacting, the architecture changes. Every time you choose the honest path instead of the impressive path, the architecture changes. Every time you stop chasing someone who activates your wound, the architecture changes. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, even a quiet one, the architecture changes. Every time you speak to yourself as someone you are responsible for protecting rather than punishing, the architecture changes. These moments look small from the outside, but the field reads them as signals. They say, I am no longer available for the old timeline. They say, my coherence matters now. They say the real me is becoming the authority. Quantum possibility does not open because you beg hard enough. It opens when your state becomes compatible with the possibility. This is the part many people avoid because it requires responsibility. It is easier to imagine a magical future than to become coherent in the present. It is easier to say the universe is blocking you than to admit your own field is still broadcasting fear of being seen, fear of receiving, fear of choosing, fear of losing familiar pain. But this is not a condemnation, it is an invitation. The moment you see the distortion, you are no longer fully trapped inside it. Awareness begins separating you from the pattern. The witness comes online, the real you steps closer. Your future self is not judging you, it is calling you. It is not standing above you disappointed by your pace. It is broadcasting from a more coherent version of your own field. You feel it as longing, you feel it as inner pressure, you feel it as dissatisfaction with what once seemed acceptable. You feel it as sudden courage that arrives without a full plan. You feel it as the quiet certainty that you cannot keep living out of alignment and still call it peace. That is not anxiety, that is the future becoming magnetic. You are becoming visible to your future, and your future is becoming more real to you. There will be moments where the old self tries to return. Do not panic when it does. The old frequency does not leave simply because you had one powerful realization. It leaves as you stop feeding it. It leaves as your body learns that a new response is safe. It leaves as your attention becomes disciplined. It leaves as your heart becomes coherent enough to stop confusing intensity with destiny. When the old fear returns, breathe. When the old craving returns, breathe. When the old shame returns, breathe. Do not build a temple around it. Do not declare yourself back at the beginning. A returning pattern is not always regression. Sometimes it is a final echo asking whether you still belong to it. Let your answer be quiet but absolute. The second activation, bring your awareness again to your chest and let the breath become slower than your thoughts. Let the mind keep moving if it wants to. You do not need to fight it. Thoughts are clouds of old momentum passing through the sky of awareness. Let them pass. Beneath them there is a signal. Beneath the signal, there is a self that does not need to panic. Feel your body sitting, breathing, existing. Feel the simple fact that you are here, not as a concept, not as a role, not as a history, as presence. Let that presence begin to gather. Feel it in the heart, feel it in the throat, feel it in the spine, feel it in the space behind the eyes. Feel it in the field around you. Now allow yourself to sense the old identity as a garment you have been wearing for a long time. It may have the weight of other people's expectations. It may carry the scent of old disappointments. It may be stitched with beliefs you inherited, fears you absorbed, roles you performed, apologies you never owed, and limitations you repeated because someone else taught them to you. Do not hate this garment. It was part of your survival. But feel how heavy it has become. Feel how much energy it takes to keep pretending it still fits. Feel how your shoulders know. Feel how your chest knows. Feel how your breath knows. Now, with the next slow inhale, allow the real you beneath that garment to become more noticeable. With the exhale, let the old frequency loosen. Again, inhale into the real self. Exhale the performance. Inhale the hidden light. Exhale the inherited fear. Inhale coherence. Exhale fragmentation. Inhale the future signal. Exhale the old broadcast. Feel the electromagnetic field around your heart becoming steadier. Imagine that every breath is smoothing the static in your system. Your nervous system does not need to remain loyal to the past. Your body does not need to keep bracing for what already happened. Your heart does not need to keep broadcasting from the wound that once defined your choices. Let regulation return. Let safety return. Let the body learn that expansion does not have to mean danger. Let visibility feel less threatening. Let receiving feel less suspicious. Let peace feel less boring. Let love feel less like a trap. Let success feel less like pressure. Let your own power feel less like something you must hide to remain accepted. Now feel the signal expanding beyond your body. Not forced, not dramatic, clean, radiant coherence moving through the field around you. A quiet broadcast saying, I am no longer lost. I am no longer waiting to be rescued from my own life. I am returning. I am listening. I am becoming. Let those words move through the body without effort. Let the field receive them. Let the quantum field hear the coherence beneath them. You are not begging reality to change. You are becoming someone reality must respond to differently because the broadcast is no longer the same. The old frequency is leaving. The signal is becoming clear. The real you is no longer buried. The moment reality starts answering differently, reality often changes quietly before it changes visibly. This is where many people sabotage the new chapter. They expect immediate proof, and when the proof does not arrive fast enough, they return to the old frequency. They declare nothing is happening because the outer world has not transformed on command. But the field works first in alignment, then in arrangement. First your state changes, then your choices change, then your tolerances change, then your patterns change, then your environment begins to reflect the difference. The impatient mind wants the final evidence before it commits to the new signal. But activation requires the opposite. You commit to the new signal before the old world confirms it. This is why you must pay attention to subtle evidence. Notice when you recover faster. Notice when you no longer want what once controlled you. Notice when a person's approval does not taste as powerful as it used to. Notice when your body says no before your mouth does. Notice when silence feels less like abandonment and more like space. Notice when your dreams become clearer. Notice when your intuition becomes less dramatic but more precise. Notice when certain opportunities no longer seduce you because you can feel the cost hidden inside them. Notice when your peace becomes more valuable than being understood. These are not small things. These are field changes. These are signs that the energetic architecture is reorganizing. The broadcast is changing. A person once described the beginning of their new life as strangely uneventful. Nothing spectacular happened at first, no sudden miracle, no lightning in the sky, no perfect opportunity dropped at their feet, but something inside them stopped reaching backward. That was the miracle. They woke up one morning and realized they no longer wanted to check the profile, send the message, revisit the old wound, rehearse the old argument, or prove the old point. The absence of craving felt unfamiliar. At first they thought they were numb, but they were not numb. They were free in a place where they had only known compulsion. Their field had stopped feeding a timeline. Within weeks, their energy returned in ways they could feel physically. Their face looked softer, their sleep changed, their creativity came back. They began noticing possibilities they had been too emotionally occupied to see. Reality had not ignored them. It had been waiting for their energy to return from the place it was trapped. This may be the phase you are entering now. The phase where your power returns quietly. The phase where you stop announcing transformation and start embodying it. The phase where you no longer need everyone to understand what is happening inside you. The phase where your peace becomes private, sacred, non-negotiable. The phase where you stop looking for signs in the sky because your entire body has become the sign. Your coherence is returning. Your light has always been on. The field already knows. The destiny frequency. Destiny is not a rigid script forcing you down a narrow corridor. Destiny is a frequency of alignment that becomes more available as you become more honest. It is not about controlling every outcome. It is about becoming so coherent with your real signal that the false paths lose their magnetism. This is how destiny protects you, not always by blocking the wrong thing loudly, but by making it feel wrong in your body. Not always by handing you the right door immediately, but by making the old hallway unbearable. Not always by giving you certainty, but by making denial impossible. You have felt this. You have felt the strange pressure of a life you can no longer continue. You have felt the pull of something you cannot fully explain. You have felt the ache of becoming before the evidence arrived. The destiny frequency does not flatter the ego. It does not simply tell you that you are special, and therefore life owes you ease. That is childish. The destiny frequency calls you into responsibility. It asks you to stop wasting your signal. It asks you to stop handing your energy to distractions that cannot build your future. It asks you to stop confusing potential with embodiment. It asks you to stop waiting for someone else to activate what only your own courage can activate. You are chosen only to the degree that you are willing to choose the real. You are recognized only to the degree that you stop hiding from recognition. You are activated only to the degree that you stop worshipping the comfort of the old self. There is hidden power in you, but power without coherence becomes chaos. That is why your awakening has not been only about receiving more energy. It has been about becoming stable enough to hold energy without leaking it into fear, obsession, validation, fantasy, or self-sabotage. The field is not trying to make you louder. It is making you clearer. The field is not trying to make you superior. It is making you true. The field is not trying to separate you from humanity. It is returning you to the part of your humanity that can love, create, choose, receive, and lead without abandoning itself. The new chapter has already begun, not because everything outside has changed, but because something inside you can no longer be negotiated with. There is a line you crossed internally. You may not have had words for it, you may not have marked the date, but your field knows. The old version of you may still appear in moments, but it no longer has the same authority. The old fear may still speak, but it no longer sounds like God. The old wound may still ache, but it no longer gets to name your future. This is how activation becomes embodiment, slowly, deeply, repeatedly, until the new signal is not something you visit during inspiration, but something you live from. The final activation. Close your eyes one more time and let these words enter the part of you that is tired of pretending. Let them bypass the mind that wants to debate everything and reach the intelligence that already knows. You were never lost. You were hidden in preparation. You were never forgotten. You were being gathered. You were never behind. You were being rebuilt at a level the outer world could not measure. Every delay that forced you inward, every ending that returned your energy, every disappointment that sharpened your discernment, every lonely season that taught you to hear your own signal, every collapse that stripped away the false self, every ache that made denial impossible, every quiet moment where you chose not to abandon yourself again, all of it has been part of the activation. Feel your chest now as the center of the broadcast. Feel the breath moving through you like a current of remembrance. Feel the field around your body responding. Feel the old stories loosening. You do not need to carry the identity of the lost one anymore. You do not need to introduce yourself to life through your wounds. You do not need to keep explaining why you became guarded. You do not need to keep proving that you deserve to exist. You are here. Your signal is here. Your coherence is returning. Your future can feel you. Let the old frequency leave through the breath. Let the old shame leave through the breath. Let the old fear of being seen leave through the breath. Let the old belief that you are too late leave through the breath. Let the old loyalty to people who only knew your wounded self leave through the breath. Let the old agreement to shrink leave through the breath. With every inhale, receive the real self. With every exhale, release the false contract. Inhale the life that recognizes you. Exhale the life that required you to disappear. Inhale the courage to be visible. Exhale the fear of being misunderstood. Inhale the destiny frequency. Exhale the survival broadcast. Inhale radiant coherence. Exhale everything that is no longer allowed to define you. You are becoming visible to your future now. Not someday, not when you are perfect, not when every wound is gone. Now, the field already knows the difference between the old you performing change and the real you embodying it. It can feel the shift. It can feel the sincerity. It can feel the moment your energy stops begging and starts aligning. This is the moment where you stop asking whether you are lost and begin asking what your life looks like when you finally stop hiding. This is the moment where the real you stops waiting in the background. This is the moment where your light stops apologizing for existing. The final transmission. There is nothing random about the timing of this. The part of you that found these words is the same part of you that has been trying to reach you through dreams, intuition, discomfort, longing, exhaustion, silence, endings, and sudden flashes of knowing. It has been calling through the static. It has been waiting for the moment your mind would become tired enough to stop arguing with your soul. It has been waiting for the moment your nervous system would become ready to hold a new frequency. It has been waiting for the moment your heart would remember that coherence is not something you chase outside yourself, but something you return to within yourself. That moment is now. Do not go back to sleep inside the old story. Do not make a prison out of what you survived. Do not keep giving sacred energy to timelines that only know how to drain it. Do not confuse the discomfort of expansion with danger. Do not confuse the grief of release with evidence that you chose wrong. Do not confuse other people's inability to recognize your activation with proof that it is not real. The field already knows. Your body already knows. Your future already knows. The signal is becoming clear. You were never lost. The real you was waiting beneath the noise, beneath the fear, beneath the roles, beneath the survival patterns, beneath the old electromagnetic signature that kept attracting versions of life too small for your becoming. And now the waiting is ending. The old frequency is leaving. The broadcast is changing. Your coherence is returning. Reality responds to what you radiate, and what you radiate now is no longer confusion, no longer apology, no longer desperation, no longer self-abandonment disguised as love, no longer survival disguised as identity. What you radiate now is remembrance. What you radiate now is permission. What you radiate now is the quiet, undeniable signal of someone who has finally begun to come home. The new chapter has already begun, not because someone announced it, not because the world approved it, not because the evidence has fully arrived. It has begun because the deepest part of you has stopped waiting for external permission to be real. Your light has always been on. The field has always known. The signal was never gone. And now, the real you is no longer waiting.